Hey, you guys, I hope everybody is well. I felt inclined to just come on here and kind of freestyle with you guys and just have a talk. Life is not a straight line for anybody, okay? For anybody. It is not a straight line. That means we have ups, we have downs, we have zigzags and circles, and, we can draw all types of shape with that, getting from point A to B to C to D and so forth and so on. But your mentality through this experience, your perspectives that you develop, maintain, grow, through this thing called life is going to make all the difference for you on your journey. And, I know firsthand because I'm down here having a human experience just like all of us. But in my darkest moments, you guys, it has literally been the biggest transformations in my life during the most heart-wrenching experiences, during my biggest betrayals and biggest letdowns, and you know just painful emotionally, psychologically. During these times, you guys, they ended up being my biggest transformations on a soul level, on a spiritual level, on an intellectual level, sometimes on a financial level, and even physically, you know? But it wasn't without going through the trenches. So that's why you might hear people say, I don't regret anything that I've been through, because they know it was components of all of those things that brought them to where they are today, even the unpleasant things, even the things that took them out of their comfort zone, and in the moment it felt like in the most negative sense. Hey, Heather. Is this the Heather that I think this is? My day one Heather from back in the day when I first started the channel? If it is, that's so wonderful to hear from you. I mean, it's wonderful regardless, but yeah. And you're very welcome. She says, thank you, hun, for encouraging us. Yeah. Oh, it is. Oh, wow. I hope you're doing well. This is awesome. Very awesome to hear from you. Psychic, yes. Here's another day one. Psychic Bastion, the Vampire Slayer. Greater awareness, kind of a survived. Yeah, kind of like surviving a horror movie. Yeah. Yeah. But I'm telling you guys, those moments, like one of my worst moments led me to even starting this channel. Honestly, it was through that one of those situations, a very traumatic one, that even guided me to here on this channel. So if you learn how to be the comeback kid in life, and you learn how to turn lemons into lemonade, you're going to be very successful in life, and you're going to be unstoppable. But it does take a certain type of perspective and point of view when you're going through these dark moments. It's all too easy to get sucked into these times and these periods and, fall deeper. And it can happen even to the best of us. You start feeling a little depressed, and, that grows to being largely depressed. But being able to intercept yourself, because we're all human, like, yep, I felt that pain, but you know what? Here's my logic. It's coming in and telling me my life is not over. I do actually have options. I can move forward, even though this is hurting me. And sometimes, it's not always I take 2 steps back to take another 10 steps back. Sometimes you can actually take 10 steps, 2 steps back, and go 100 steps forward. You can. And what you feel like is a setback it really can just be a setup. And it's really not even taking 2 steps back. It's just our perspective at the time, because it feels more uncomfortable from where we were. Just like, let's just take narcissistic abuse. This is easy to say on a channel like this. We leave the narcissist, and then we're feeling even more heartache. Why? Because we're not feeling a love bomb. But what's the love bomb? That's fake anyway. We're being stripped of the toxic comforts that we were holding on to, that was giving us this false illusion of feeling like we were happier and more comfortable and safer than we were. So once we get stripped of that, now we're actually in reality. This is what you should have been seeing and feeling all along, and you're being allowed to actually experience that. And hopefully you can let that energy validate to you that you needed to get away from this, because now you're in the truth. You're seeing things for what it is, and you're starting to feel stuff. But we know in those situations, a lot of times it was a lot more going on than what we were even aware of. So as our eyes are really opening and we're really starting to feel, the fuller effect of what was really going on here, it feels devastating. But isn't it better to know this now than to stay in the lie? Isn't it better? So it feels worse, but it's actually better. It feels bad, but it's actually better. If I go to the dentist, I got to get a root canal, or I have to, I had to do a surgery on my body to remove something. And then after the surgery, I feel banged up, but I'm actually better off because they removed the tumor. They cleaned my blood. So sometimes, you can't just go off of the discomfort. I felt really uncomfortable on that treadmill working out, but it gave my heart rate feels good. It's getting stronger. I'm fitter. So I'm going through all these discomforts in the gym, but really it's strengthening my body. It's making me healthier. So the perspectives are really going to matter here. Okay, I had to remove a bunch of people out of my life that didn't serve my best interest. But now I don't have a bunch of Judases around me. Now I don't have people sabotaging me and using me left and right. Now, okay, yeah, I'm by myself, but it's better to be that way than to be around, you're by yourself if you're around a bunch of toxic people anyway. You see what I'm saying? So in these darkest moments, when, maybe reality had to smack you in the face, and hopefully, we want to increase our emotional maturity so it doesn't have to happen like this to us a lot. But if we're not, taking the signs and the clues because we're wanting to see what we want to see, and we're not really paying attention the way that we need to be, and our emotions are leading versus our logic, then yeah, it could get to that moment. But even in those moments, like I said, it's been my biggest transformations. All right. It's been my biggest transformation. So if you allow it to be, some people can go through a trauma and they'll carry this baggage for the rest of their life. They'll let it define them. They'll make it a part of them. They're basically adding a tumor onto them. You could picture it that way. Like I just made it a tumor, and I'm just, and they're actually growing it because they're keeping the memory alive. And, this tumor has been on them for X amount of time versus this was an experience. In this chapter in my life, in this season of my life, I had this experience. And now that I look back on the experience, I really needed that rude awakening, or I needed to be shook up a little bit. I needed to have some lessons come full circle for me so that I can go to the next level of myself. This version of me was susceptible to that. This version of me is less susceptible to it because I've had this experience and I've grown from it. Right? So we can't be, in these darkest moments, if you are having some things in your toolbox, like being grounded in yourself and having a spiritual connection. Because, we all have souls and spirits here inside of our bodies, and they're guiding us through these experiences. So the more in tune we are with that, you're going to be better off. Because I'm not going to sit here and say, the only people that have these darkest moments are the lesser evolved people. Not necessarily. Anyone can go through a trial and a tribulation. But if you see some people just seem to go through it effortlessly, or some people you might not even know that they were going through all these storms because they took it on the chin, or they were so solid within themselves and connected to source and so grounded that they were able to just move through this. Like, dang, this person was going through all this stuff. We didn't even know it. And then other people, they can't even go 5 seconds without posting, I'm in the hospital, with tears in their, they have to carry it, And we talked about this yesterday as far as being victimized and being somebody's victim. You can be victimized in life, but that don't make you nobody's victim. And that's the whole thing. Yeah, someone else had a poor character. Somebody else wanted to strike and attack. That's a reflection on them. But I'm not your victim, honey. Yeah, you did something low down and dirty. That's what you did, you know? So, yeah, because you guys, I've talked to a lot of people, and I know what it feels like as well. Like, I've been betrayed, I've gone through this and that, but each time, I swear, each time it has taken me 1,000 levels up as a human being, spiritually, intellectually. So I regret none of it. I borderline want to thank those people. Thank you for effing me over. You have no idea how you catapulted me. Like that experience, that they're intending for it to have an opposite effect on you, and it just actually gives you your biggest glow up. It will lead to your biggest glow up. But you have to be grounded in the right things at those times and not giving your power over to other people. Like if you just even study successful people, like, people have stories and they've suffered, they've been through this and that, but it's never forever. And you need to know that as well. It doesn't rain forever. Like if it feels like you're going through a time period where nothing seems to be falling into place, and I have to use the word seems because we don't know the end to the beginning, and sometimes we're so focused on what's not going right, we don't see how it's actually maybe going right, like I just pointed out in various ways. But even if you feel like you're in a season of this and that, you got to keep the faith. You got to keep the faith and know that it doesn't rain forever. If we have a horrible rainstorm, it doesn't last forever. Never. It never does. I don't care how bad it's thundering and this pouring down. It never lasts forever. And it's the same way in life. But you have to grin and bear with it and keep speaking life on you and understanding that, okay, well, I'm going to trust this process and I'm still going to do the best that I can no matter what's being thrown at me. Because I know on a soul level, if I'm doing the best that I can, that, the source that I'm connected to, my God, he's going to see the rest. He's going to be there, that I'm fully supported in my life. I know that if I'm being the best person that I can, and I'm doing all that I can to show up for myself in any given situation, I know I take comfort that I am fully supported. I can rest in that. See, when you have a lack mentality and you're not resting in it and you're speaking death on your life because, okay, this didn't happen the way that I wanted it to, but maybe it didn't need to happen that way. You don't know if you were given that would have led to something that wasn't for your best. So maybe that door had to be changed, or maybe something did need to be delayed for it to come at a better time or for it to be perfectly set up. Or maybe God really is still working on it, but there's some other components that need to fall into place before he can hand that to you. Like we want everything on our time, or we're so quick to jump to a conclusion that we're not being supported, and then come to find out you are. All this for nothing, and everything still worked out. So don't be short-sighted, and also don't jump to conclusion or downplay the source that you work with or your God. Have some faith here. Have some faith. Like he's got you this far, and most of us, everybody on this thread, has dealt with narcissistic abuse. Like there should be, especially after you've been through enough challenges in life, because everybody has hurdles and things to overcome, some bigger than smaller at different times. But these are times where Source is letting you know that they're there with you. So the next time you have a hurdle, now Source is suddenly not there. God is suddenly not there for you when he's already gotten you to this point. Like I'm telling you, I've been through enough ups and downs that I don't even get shook anymore. Like it's like, what can they possibly throw at me to rattle me? And I don't even want to say that out loud because, Satan, he's listening. He's like, oh, I could throw something else. Trust me. And that's why they say new level is a new devil. But if you get prepared for that because you've already faced stuff. So instead of panicking is, what can I do? What's the best? Because that's all we can do, you guys, is our best. And that's something to keep in mind during those darkest moments. And even if you felt like you made a decision, that was the best decision you thought you were making, that led to what feels like is this dark moment or this, moment where you can transfer, it was still your best. So you can't, beat yourself up as well. So that's another thing about being gentle with yourself when you feel like, well, I keep making poor decisions, or I made a poor decision back then. But guess what? You're acknowledging that it was a poor decision. There's automatic growth right there. Humans weren't put down here to be perfect. None of us are going to be that. None of us are going to be that. So we have to have some type of compassion for ourselves, and usually coming out of situations where others weren't having compassion for you. So now you're going to join in on that. It's okay. Nobody is perfect. I don't care. You can show me the most exceptional person. Like, we all have gifts, and then we all have areas where we fall short, or maybe a little bit more blinded, or need some refinement, or need to keep a self-awareness about, but that's just called being human. It's called being human, you guys. So it's okay to make a mistake. Like, I am very gracious with myself. I'm very gracious with myself. And that's okay. And it's sometimes we don't even extend the graciousness that we've extended to others to our own self, Psychic Dashed in the Vampire Slayer says greater awareness is kind of survived. Oh, I already read that one. Goodness. Heather says, yes, I hope you're doing well too. I'm doing excellent, Heather. I am feeling fabulous, as a matter of fact. Yes. And it's true. Like, man, I would love to put my life into a movie form. It would be also interesting because I've had a lot of twists and turns, but they've all got me to where I am today. So I wouldn't give any of it back. But I've had a lot of refinements, a lot of starting over at times, a lot of other shoes being dropped, a lot of people attacking me just unjustly as well. Your light really can irritate other people's demons. But, the best part is about identifying that. And if you guys haven't seen my live chat from yesterday, Defeating the Enemy, definitely review that as well. Because these all work together. Because during these darkest moments, of course, these are times when the opposite source is testing you to see if they can strike you down, to see if they can get you to give up on God's best for you, to feel that you're unworthy, to feel that it's impossible. They want you to accept a defeat at that moment. And you have to make a decision. If you're going to crumble down, or if you're going to fight for yourself and fight for your soul and fight to have the best experience you can on this earth. Always try. And this is something that I do. And some people are better at this than others. But if you're not good at this, it doesn't mean that you can't become better at it. Try to always find the best in a situation. Learn how to make the best out of situations. Learn how to see the positive, not in a delusional way where you're just ignoring the full picture of it. Well, this happened, but you know what? What's good about it? What's good about it? Because I've talked to enough survivors, and some of them were really stuck on just holding on to the negativity of things and always seeing the worst in a situation. And when you operate like that, you'll even have a good situation and complain about it. Like, you'll just become a complainer at that point. And that's no way to live. And it's definitely no way to be programming your mind. Okay. Because, yeah, it's just not going to serve you guys. It's not going to serve you. I also want to point out right now that I still have the Encouraging Words playlist that I made years ago on this channel. You guys are welcome to listen to those videos as well. But in your darkest moments, there's a lot of growth a lot of growth that can be had at those times. And if it's a dark moment, it may even be something that you can do in private. Like if you've been gracious enough to where this isn't even on Front Street, and you can refine yourself and just, do what you need to do to, what would be the word here? To rebuild yourself, to replenish yourself, to rejuvenate yourself, and then come back stronger than ever. But even if it is a situation where other people are knowing about this, you know, you being connected to the wrong person or somebody playing, because honey, people have played in my face. I've had people play me, like I'm like literally handing people my heart and they're just taking it and stomping on it. Yes, even Coach Lakia, like I am not, trust me, I have not been exempt from any of that. People have played in my face, made a mockery of my care, my generosity, made fun of it. In anything that I've shared with them, like I've experienced these things. But you know what? I was happy that the person exposed themselves in each of those cases, because then I wouldn't have to waste that pure energy with them anymore. I would know that they weren't deserving of it. It wasn't for me to take that and now make it a self-reflection of who I am and let their evil, vile smear campaigns or whatever they're doing, let that become a poster for who I am. Let that speak for me. No, it speaks for their character. It makes them lame. It makes them stupid. I mean, and it lets them set themselves up for, whatever it is. If they're telling God they don't want loving people, I'm going to beat them up. You send me a good person, I'm going to beat them down and take advantage of them. God's like, okay, let me snatch this person right on away from you. And then now you can go back to the monsters just like you. We'll send some people like that because that's what you deserve. In your darkest moments, they're tests. They're tests, you guys. And you'll get that test right before a promotion is available to you. So just know that when things start hitting the fan and you've been doing your best, I would get excited actually, because you're about to get set up for something. Just pass the test. Move with your self-esteem. Stay righteous. Keep your eyes in the right direction. And you're going to be setting yourself up for a promotion. Anytime I've gotten promoted in life, it's been times where something else had to be let go of. I had to be stripped of something else. And people, take this as losses, but, some losses are good for you. If you needed to lose some weight, losing those pounds were good. Losing bad people around you is good, So some of these moments aren't as dark as you may think. So that may be a word for someone as well. It may not be as dark as you think. It's just the beginning of recovery, or it's the beginning of a transformation, a beginning of a new season without the toxicity, or with less toxicity anyway, right? Definitely. But I miss you guys. I think about you all the time, and I love coming on the channel. You guys know I love talking about emotional maturity. But so many people, I see them getting swallowed by the dark moments, and it's like it takes a part of them, and they're never the same again as far as the light in their eyes, And yesterday when I talked about defeating the enemy, the number one thing I said is push forward. Like, don't let it change you at the core. Meaning, if you're a loving person, you can be a loving person. Just don't be a loving person to your enemy, That's what it really is. People think that their gifts are curses, and it's only because they're using their gifts in the wrong directions. It's misappropriated. It's misused. It's not the gift. It's where you're using it. You're taking it to the wrong clan. You're in the wrong company, the wrong group. You're not with the right people here. Of course, they're taking advantage of it. That they're not the ones who are supposed to be benefiting off of it, And I think I used this example yesterday about love. People stopped believing in love because they were in loveless relationships. Logically, that makes no sense. Like, I'm going to base having a love relationship off of being in loveless ones. Like, those weren't even situations where love was existing and reciprocated. When you get in a real loving situation, you'll see the difference. Base love off of that, not off of where it wasn't, you know? Yeah. Yep. And in the darkest moments, I'm also going to say to you guys, make sure you're not forcing the issues. Like, if you're going through a transformation where it's like you're being called to let go of things, you're being called to turn away from old behaviors, patterns, places you used to hang out with. Sometimes you sometimes the loss is just out of your control. Like, they give you a 2-week notice on your job, or a person just dumps you. Trust it. Trust it. Some empaths that are toxic, they'll try to force the issue. No, we don't need to break up. Let's work it out. Da, da, da. Honey, if somebody wants to walk away from you, let them. You don't know what they're sparing you from and what else greater is coming your way. Like, you should only want to be around people who sincerely wants to be with you. If another grown adult is telling you they don't think this is good for them, they're not seeing your value, you've already, hey, let them go and trust the process. Trust the process. You don't want anything forced. You need all sincerity. You need people that actually want to be there for the right reasons. Okay, it's up to you to determine that. Hey, Seashell 200, another day one. She says, you're such an angel. God will forever bless you, Lakia. And he does. You guys have no idea. I feel abundantly covered. Like, I'm serious. I feel like God doesn't play about me. And I know I'm not the only person he doesn't play about, but he does not play about me. But I do think it helps that I'm very obedient to him. And in the face of any type of shift, no matter how uncomfortable it is, I trust him wholeheartedly. He's the first person that I'm going to be talking to. And I'm a very introverted person. As much as I come on this channel, I've written books, you guys, and I've talked to a lot of people. I'm introverted, but I could give a speech in front of 1 million people and feel very humble and not nervous, because I just understand we're all human beings. I don't put people on a platform. If I'm standing next to the richest person on earth, I'm not going to feel any awkwardness. I'm not going to feel out of place, because I know you're a human being like me, no matter how much money you have. When you look at life that way, I don't have to be nervous talking to 1 million people, because we're all people. And then when I know that I'm not also allowing people to, define who I am, that makes a big difference too. So I don't need to impress you, but I'll just be my authentic self. And that's good enough for the right people, period. It's good enough for the right people, you guys. But don't force any issues. You just need sincerity. And when you're forcing the issues, that's when you start draining yourself. All right. So trust these endings, because endings, they usher in new beginnings. And I've talked about this through the years. People are so frightened of an ending, but there's a beginning. Just like when we lose people, James Earl Jones, he passed away, I believe, this week. A few people did. And Frankie Beverly Mays, he passed away. But you know what? That's why they say celebrate the life. Like, some people who have lived it well, you guys, like what? James Earl Jones was in his, 90s maybe? I'm not sure, but he was up there. That brother lived. And it looked like he lived a good life. That's a life to be celebrated. Does it mean that he didn't have trials and tribulations? Of course he did. But he lived well, One day I'll pass away, you guys. Don't cry for me. Be happy for me. Trust me, Lakia lived. Anything that I've been wanting to do, I'm doing it. It could be anything. Like, I could say, I always wanted to make a music album. Lakia will find a way to get in the studio and sing and do something. Trust me. I'm very creative in that way, but I'm just saying all of this to say life is to be lived. And where you start is not where you end. And just because it feels like, you're the underdog and you can't catch a break, you think you're not catching these breaks and you're going through these dark moments, it is not where you end. It's not where you begin, it's where you end. Because I firmly believe that life really is, you guys, 10% of what happens and 90% of how you respond. 90% of how you respond. How did you respond? Okay. Did you just fall apart into your emotions, or did you just say, you know what? Yep, this is an experience. I'm facing this right now. What can I do? What can I do? And like I said, if you do your best and you are connected to Source, honey, he will always cover you. He will work through strangers. He will make a way. He will figure it out. He knows what your needs are. He's not going to forget you, especially you're inviting that Source in. And I know some people are like, don't make it so spiritual, but trust me, that part of life is essential. And I know some people are atheists, and there may even be some atheists listening to my channel, but I'm not an atheist. So you're going to get some of this in my messages because I'm only speaking on what I know for a fact. Everything isn't 3D. There are things going on around us that the naked eye might not even see, but your soul, your spirit can be in tune with these things. All right. And that's a beautiful thing. Because, we're in these bodies temporarily. But our souls, our spirit, that lives on forever. That's why they say in science, energy never dies. That's a scientific way of saying the soul and the spirit never dies. It don't. It's going to come out of our crown chakra into wherever it's going to go next. But it's still, the energy is still there. The soul is still there. Okay? So you don't have to, just hop into your logic. All right. We're going to feel. We're not going to push our feelings down, but make sure we're just hopping into our logic during these moments. Don't lose sight of that. All right. Because panicking, some people are worse at that than others. But panicking is not going to get you to solutions, is not going to help you get into a safer space. All right. Heather says, I react emotional, begging for him to talk to me. It's been me for years. I was toxic. I was so unaware. Right. Yeah. I'm glad that you're seeing that, Heather. And, most of us have been there at some point, but the key word is we've been there and we're not there now. And you understand you don't have to beg for real love. We don't have to beg for real friendship. And you don't have to beg for the people that God sincerely placed into your life. So if you're begging, you're actually probably begging a karmic. You're begging someone that's here to sharpen you, but through pain. They'll sharpen you. Karmics, they serve their purpose, but it's usually through pain. It's through pain that they do it. And Heather says, I'm not proud of myself. But you can be proud of yourself because you've come out of it, and it's not like we're not born with it in our consciousness. Like, let's say that God, we were born and it's in there somewhere, but we have to tap into it, or we have to bring it up to the surface, if you will. But now, you're conscious of it, And she said, yes, ma'am, absolutely. She says, not sure the Christians were attacking me spiritually. Yeah. Well, I used to follow the Christian faith myself. I'm a Muslim. I've converted over to being a Muslim. But I won't, I'll say those group of Christians were attacking you, then yeah. Everyone that's within a religious organization is not going to be, the stellar or the person that they should be based off of their doctrine. If they're following the Bible and the way that they're supposed to be treating people, And I say that to people because there have been people who have turned their backs on a faith based off of unsavory people within the faith. Now, I wouldn't tell you to do that, but if it's something about the doctrine that makes you feel off, then that's another case. But there's unsavory people, like there's unsavory Muslims, like there's unsavory people everywhere, even where it shouldn't be. But in our emotional maturity, we know that. And some unsavory people like to hide under religion. So we know that too. Heather says, yes, for now. Wait, yes, for how far I've come, but it doesn't change the pain that I've caused. It doesn't, but it is in the past, whatever pain that you've gone through when you didn't know any better, because you have to understand you didn't know any better. And that's the grace that you have to give yourself. So instead of crying for the girl that didn't know any better, be proud of the girl who does know better now. The graduation that you've had psychologically from that type of energy, like that version of you. And I think of lesser version of myself too. I'm like, man, I had a lot. Yesterday I was in my storage unit, you guys, because in my house I have a finished basement and a storage unit, and I'm like totally reorganizing it because it got out of control. And I've been doing this for like the last 3 weeks, and I think today I'll be putting the finishing touches on it. But nonetheless, I found my senior high school picture, and I graduated in 1999, honey. And I'm looking at me on this picture. I'm like, honey, you had a lot to learn. Like, I'm looking back at it. I'm like, man, I had a lot to learn. Like, woo. But that's okay. Life is a journey, and you're living it right when you've grown that much, Heather. That's another way to look at it. Like, you've grown so much that it is almost unbelievable, the mindset that you had. So it honestly, on a plus side, it speaks to your growth. You've come that far. So don't you feel bad about it. Everybody didn't have the perfect guidance. I lost my mother at 7, and no woman stepped into her shoes to teach me about nothing. And I had 2 younger sisters. So we all like cleave to each other. When I learn something, usually it's like that. I learn something and I share it with them. And, I'm in my 40s now, but you've come that far, Heather. That's something to commend yourself. You're not supposed to be the same in your 20s as you were when you were 10. You're not going to be the same usually in your 30s that you were in your 20s. 40s to 30s, 50, and so forth and so on, that God blesses you to see another day. It's called growth. By the end of your journey, girl, you will be so far even from where you are right now. But that's the beauty of life and the progression of it. We don't do it backwards to forward. We just go ahead. But that means that you're doing well, because there's a lot of old fools, and there are people who are pretty much the same in their 50s that they were in their 20s. And that's really sad. But at least you're not going to be one of them, because then you're not going to be tapping into your fullest potential. God can't, because you can't get out of your own way. He can't put you in the places that he ideally wanted you to be in, because you're in your own way. You're stubborn. You won't take the lessons, keep repeating these cycles. You're refusing to grow. You don't want to give up the bad ways that are, So Heather, she says, I'm not sure if he's karmic. I saw our souls separate, not accords. Yeah, you definitely have separate souls. Mm-hmm. And I mean, a way to know if he's not karmic, then he wouldn't play with your emotion. If he wasn't playing with your emotion, playing with your time, he wouldn't have allowed you to be in a position to be begging him. He would have cut it off and just removed himself. Now, if he indulged that back and forth, that would be suspicious. See, my higher self wouldn't have time for that. If someone trying to cling on to me and I know I don't want to be with them, I'm going to make sure the boundary is there, and I will not even allow them, whatever they're using to try to force it. I'll cut that. Off. They wouldn't have access to that. So, and you're welcome, Heather. You hope so? I know so. I know so. The fact that you're able to self-reflect on this level, that means that you've grown, Heather. So don't mourn for the girl that you lost. Celebrate the person that you've become, Heather. Like, we can't change the past. We can't. But we can look back on it and be proud of the growth. Don't be upset about the lesson, because the lesson got you here. That pain was useful. I've said it many times on here. You know, God knows that pain could be useful in getting people's attention, because sometimes we have to feel uncomfortable before we understand better. You know, sometimes telling you is just not enough. But if you feel a little pain or a lot of pain, then that can get your attention at least. Seashell 200 says, can you talk about generational karma and how it plays heavy on us and why it's difficult to transmute sometimes? Sure. Generational karma could be something like things that have been happening for many generations in your family, maybe like teenage pregnancy or alcoholism or drug addictions, or, you know, having unsuccessful marriages or not getting married, you know, different things or the men dying young, you know, all types of things can happen with generational karma. It plays out heavy on us because if the people raising you haven't done the work, then it will end up falling on that next generation. But it's like when they're not helping you see that, then now you're going on this whole journey. And hopefully, you know, if you are connected to source, you'll be able to see the pattern, you know, going on. But it's challenging because you'll want other people around you to change the pattern, when oftentimes it's just going to have to change with you moving forward. You know, you might not be able to save or make the shift on the others that came before you. So that's why it feels heavy. It feels heavy because you may not feel supported by who you want to feel supported for. Because if we're talking about generational karma, you'll want the whole family to start renewing their minds, when oftentimes it's a situation to where it has to start with you, and whether they see that spiritual work that you're doing to lead your life in a better, you know, in a opposite polarity to what's been going on. Now you're not going to be the next statistic. You're not going to you know, have that going, and then hopefully then you can bestow that in your children, embedded in them, and then so forth and so on. But scientifically, they even say, like, genetically, we're passing this energy down, and I wholeheartedly believe it spiritually. I do. This is pretty deep. This is pretty deep, and that's why I think maybe a couple years ago when I made a video on sexual energy and conceiving children, and I was saying when you are conceiving your kids, and some of us, you know, sometimes when people are doing it, it's very mindless, like they're just having unprotected sex and they end up pregnant. Whatever state you are in when you conceive that child, that man and that woman, you're actually putting that energy into your kids. You are actually putting that into them. Yeah, and that's how you could say, man, he acts just like his dad, or, oh, they act just like their father, or, man, my daughter, she's acting just like me. You put that energy into them. And if it's the toxic or your shadow side, you're going to really have to work on them with that. And I know this firsthand, you know, with my twins that I had, I noticed that, and I'm working on them a lot with this, that they were being, how can I put this? They were being too agreeable with their friends, and they were being too needy for their friends' acceptances. And although I wasn't that bad on the scale, but I did have times where I think anytime that happened in things that happened in my life, I wasn't going to God first. I would go to people. I always need to know what other people thought I should do and blah, blah, blah. Like, I was too concerned with that. So I work really hard night and day with them on this. and I'm really drilling it into them. They're 7 now, of course, and their minds are still developing. I don't think human brains really fully develop until they're 21. But I've been teaching them emotional maturity, and being as though they're girls is even more emotions, even at 7, with clicks here and this and that. I'm like, oh my Lord, every day I'm having these talks with them, but I don't want them to be like that. But I also seen in them that they also don't play. Like, I was like, whoa, they're a lot stricter in a certain way than I was too at their age. So it gives me a lot of hope that they're not going to be in a certain energy that I was. Because there were times where I wasn't aggressive enough, especially with toxic people. Just even keeping a foot in, that might be too much access, and they can still devastate your life. They still hurt or injure you in some way, even if it's psychologically, because you weren't supposed to keep a foot in. You weren't supposed to keep a toe in. You ain't supposed to keep nothing in. You were supposed to get out of there. But yeah, sometimes it's difficult to transmute as well, Seashell 200, because it's still going on. See, you're working to change this, and often that's where the isolation comes in, and a lot of people frown upon isolation, but sometimes he needs to set you apart. He needs to, I won't say you have to completely disconnect from your family or from these people, but there has to be a certain amount of distance and isolation so that you're like inside of this nucleus and the change is occurring into you. And even if you can't pull them up with you, or they're unwilling to make the change as well, someone in the family line is making the change. And then you'll be able to use your influence on your family and so forth and so on, like I was saying. But yeah, it's rough. And I've even, I've studied this inside and out, actually, Seashell 200. And even sometimes I've heard spiritually, I'm not going to get into that. I think I'm not going to say that one. I'm sorry. I hated that I started that, but, Spirit said shut up. So I'm going to shut up. But, it does get deep. It definitely gets deep with the generational karma. But the good thing is, the more you do the work on yourself, the more you'll even acknowledge that there is some type of generational karma going on. And then you'll be able to put yourself in a situation to where it can at least end with you, Seashell says you can handle it, that we can handle it. All right. Well, what I was going to say was a close family member passed away in my life I'll just go ahead and be frank. I'll be frank about it. When I was 7 years old, my mother, she passed away at 22. At 22 years old, you guys. She had me when she was 13. All right. And that's a whole situation in itself. My father, we'll put that in quotes, he was 19 when he impregnated my mother. Now, of course, this was a problem, and of course, that's considered rape. So my mother, she conceived me out of rape, okay? And then at 16, she got pregnant with my middle sister, and that guy was abusive towards her, all right? And then I think around, I want to say 18, she met my stepfather, and they started life together, and he had a lot of controlling ways about him. They both passed away, so I don't want to throw dirt on anybody's name, but it is what it is. Yeah, he has some controlling issues about that. And my mother passed away shortly after their marriage at the age of 22. She was fleeing from him because they had a domestic altercation, or basically domestic violence was going on. And she was taking me and my sisters to a safe house for women fleeing from domestic violence. And she left us there. And usually those people will not let you leave the facility without your kids, but she somehow convinced them to let her go back to get her belongings. And she passed away January the 13th, which was like Friday the 13th on top of that. It was very toxic, you guys. But a spiritual advisor later told me in life that some of her karma, because she exited out of here soon, she kind of due to a lot of toxicity, her life didn't play out exactly the length that God wanted, because He don't really want us usually. If he planned for us to go, then yeah, we all have our free will, of course, and we can make certain decisions that kind of cut it shorter than He would have wanted it to be for us. So I was informed that some of her karma is definitely on me. Some of her karma came on me to carry some of it. Yeah. So I was told that as far as that goes. But I know my mother on the other side, she's with me every day. And how do I know it? Her birthday is 11/17, and I swear I see it every day of my life multiple times in all types of ways, on license plates, on my receipt when I pay for something. I'll catch the clock. She is next to me every day, you guys, and I know that her soul, and she's watched my journey. She's seen people crap on me and mistreat me, and she feels horrible that she hasn't been here to protect me in the physical, because mothers do want to protect their children. And even if she wasn't in the best mind state at that point, because she had gone through so much abuse, you guys, my heart feels for her. And I also, I reassure, like, I'm not mad at you, Mom. Like, I know you did the best that you could. You went through all of that stuff. At the time, I do believe she was battling some depression, because I do have memory. I was 7 when she passed away, and I was with her a lot. She was listening to a lot of gospel music. So I know she was trying to find God's voice. She definitely needed an interception of love and family. I don't know. Everyone was so busy with their own stuff, because all of her sisters were like her age. And, when you're that young, you're not usually that insightful. And they have their own issues going on too, with teen pregnancies and this and that. But yeah, my mother, she went through a lot. Like, she literally, you guys, was a baby with a baby. My aunt tells me the story all the time after I was born and my mother was home with me. Remember, she was 13 and I was just crying a lot. And my aunt was like, Mary Ellen, did you feed that baby? My mother's name was Mary Ellen. And she was like, yeah, I gave her breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But, babies have to eat every 2 hours. She didn't even know that, So literally a baby with a baby. But she did the best she could with me. And aren't you guys thankful that she gave birth to me, that she hung in there and she saw that through? And it's one of the things that keeps me really close to the channel. And I'm very tender about it, about women and abuse. Not just for my own experiences, but because, like I said, my mother, I was very up close to it, you guys. Right. So she said, it sounds like you decided to come here because you knew you would be strong enough to help clear some of the issues going forward. Absolutely. And I am, you guys. I'm definitely doing that. And I'm just very happy about it, and I know she's very happy too. My mother, she always wanted to write a book. So I'm like, Mom, we did it. I wrote 4, I'm writing the 5th one. Like, my life is not just for me. It's not. It is and it's not at the same time. I have ancestors and I want to make them proud. And I do. There are generational curses that need to be broken, generational curses of depression. I didn't do the teen pregnancy. I finished college. My mother, she didn't finish high school. So I have 2 college degrees. So who would know this little baby that came out of this 13-year-old girl could, lead a life like that? I do feel like I've broken just right now, and I haven't reached my fullest potential. But yeah, I've broken a lot of generational curses, just even making, not to get too TMI, but even cracking into the 6 figures in my life. And I've cracked well into it, honestly. But even that, I've financially even surpassed. I've done a lot of things, and I'm trying my best to set up the next generation so that it doesn't stop with me, But yes, there's people that will be called. In Seashell 200, you could be called. You know, your curiosity about it is a big green flag right there, that you may be being called. And it's not an easy position to be in. It's not an easy position for many reasons, because, you know, there's going to be that source that doesn't want to see your family come out of those generational curses, you know? So that you got to watch out for that too. And then, you know, human beings, sometimes they don't like change. So the other people that are still kind of unawakened or still in that energy, they might dislike you for that. They might blackball you for that. They might strike against you. Like, you have no idea. Like, when you are a light worker and you are helpful and you try your best, those can be the very same people that turn their backs on you, or the lead an attack against you. And I know that can feel hurtful in the moment, but when you have your emotional maturity and you understand, you know, how ignorance works, and how, you know, people haven't actually renewed their mind, which is why people might say, teach them how to fish instead of giving them the fish. You know, there's a greater appreciation for it, and then setting them up to pass the torch rather than draining you left and right, type of thing. So yeah, life gets very deep psychologically. It does. It does. But like I said, if you're constantly working on yourself, you have this self-awareness, you're spiritually intact, you're intact from within, you know, you're going to be okay. It doesn't mean every day is going to be sunshine and lollipops, because it's not. But when those transitions come, or you're going to be pushed out of your comfort zone, or you're being asked to end a cycle, to shed this, to let go of that, your perspectives are going to be to the point where you're not going to feel devastated, or you can at least look forward to the new. And you know, it's like, well, if I gotta let go of this, then I must be, what am I getting in its place? You know, reveal that to me. You know, be obedient to that. Heather says, girl, I am 46, and that's okay. And that's okay. I'm 43. That is okay, honey. And that is okay. That's okay. I have the oldest person, I'll reveal this, the oldest person that I've given coaching to was in their 70s. And this person was just learning about narcissistic abuse. So look, everybody is in different places on their journey, but at least, you know, that person is learning about it, and they were able to make the decisions that they needed to make for themselves. But yeah, every day there are newcomers. Every day, you know, there are people that are learning things that may be old to you. And that's why when I make certain video topics, you know, even though it may be something that I knew a decade, 2 decades ago, but other people may not, you know. But through the darkness, there can be light, you know. Through the darkness, there could definitely be light. And it has been that way for me. And I wish that for all of you. Take the energy and turn it into something beautiful for you. You know, you can do that. You can definitely do that. You can, what do they call it? Transmute. Yeah. Seashell, you just said the word transmute too. Transmute. Learn how to transmute. And that's how it could be situations where something was meant for this and you turn it into that. Oh, you thought it was going to do this to me, and it actually elevated me. You're empowering me. It doesn't mean that I'm like, it doesn't mean you put up a sign, hurt me, send me your attacks, bring out your devils. No, but if they do, you'll transmute it. And, you know, and what's understood don't have to be said. I don't have to announce these transmutations. They just see it. They see it when they see me doing better than when I was with them. They see that I still met the goal regardless of what they did. You know, I transmuted it. because you thought you were writing my story. They think they're writing your story. People try to play God over your life. They think that they can strip you of something. They can't. Honey, nobody trumps God. And toxic people, manipulative, evil, demonic, dwelled people, they don't get that. Like, honey, you're not God. No matter how hard you try. You know, you might be able to delay something, but you can't stop it. It's still going to come, you know? And knowing that is a beautiful thing. They're not writing your story. What they're writing up is karma, negative karma for themselves. That's what they're writing up. And they're going to have to answer for it. You know, you just make sure you're not answering it for it by being too close to the energy. Get yourself from around it. Because you don't need to be nowhere in sight when it's time for them to pay their tab. That's the whole problem with that. And there's been too many beautiful people hooking themselves up with unsavory people and being too close to the energy, and therefore getting some of their karma is spilling over on you because you're too close. What are you doing? It's like you're connected. You have no business being connected to them. Your energies are so opposite. Why are you even, don't try to rescue them. Don't try to save them either. Nope. Get yourself away. Self-preservation and putting yourself first, you know? And that's the last note I'll leave on with this darkest moment. You know, is not a time to turn on yourself. This is the time, like I said, where you need the most grace, where you need the most self-care, you guys. This is the time where you need to be turning inward and tapping into spirit. Like, this is the time. And he's never going to let you down. He's never going to let you down. But you have to tap into that. And you have to operate out of love for yourself. Love for yourself. Okay? Like, if we learn how to just give those things to ourselves, it don't matter who never gave it to us, you know? Because I basically grew up an orphan. I didn't have my mother and I had my father. I was an orphan, you know? But I've learned how to reparent myself. I've learned how to mother myself, how to father myself, you know? And God, he is the father to the fatherless. He's everything. He could be your everything, not a person. I don't look to people to be that. I don't even put that on other people. I fill my own cup. And that's why I'm always balanced, no matter what attacks come against me, you know? It doesn't mean I never cry. It doesn't mean I never have a sad moment. But a sad moment to a sad life is two different things, you know? There are two different things. Yes, I've felt every emotion, all the range of emotions that a human being could feel. But I see the beauty in that too. Because I'm always looking for the positive. And I'm always, you know, I'm that person. I will take the lemons and make it into lemonade. Learn how to do that. You will go far. You'll go far. All right, you guys. So this was a nice powwow. If anyone wants me to speak on anything else before I leave, quickly go ahead and put it in the chat. I'll address it for you. You know, my live chats are a great time to tap in with me. And I'm more than happy to help you in your situation, give you the advice, the best advice that I can, you know, and hopefully it can help you on your journey. I do have my email here on the screen for you guys, coachlakia@gmail.com. For the bashful people, you can always email me. Seashell 200 says you're such an inspiration. Thanks so much for sharing. I love you. I love you too. And that's good. I just want to inspire people to know that it ain't over, even when the fat lady sings. It's not over, you know? People, they will try you in life. And sometimes, you know, we have to go through certain things for refinement. But you'll be okay. Tomorrow's another day. You know, if you cried last night, today is a new day. God allowed you to see it. Get you some sunlight, you know, enjoy it. Breathe you some fresh air. Take control. Whatever you have control over, control it. And whatever you don't have control on, pray about that and believe God for it. Okay, and rest in that, because he didn't get you this far for nothing. All right, he did not bring you this far for nothing, and there's nothing you can't do if you do not put your mind to it. Like, just put your mind to it. Put your mind to it, make a plan, and get moving. Get moving. Don't wait for nothing to fall out of the sky, because God, he helps those that helps themselves. Get moving. And that's why I keep saying, if you've done the best you can do, the rest is going to fall into place. And if something doesn't open up for you, it means either not right now, or it could mean you need to be redirected into another direction. It could be not now or not ever. But that just means it's something better for you. Something even better. All right. So I love you guys. Feel free. There's 1,000 videos here. I've been doing live chats over the last few months. It's just easier for me in my lifestyle and for editing. You can always feel free to like the video. It's an energetic thank you. And it also helps to boost this video into the algorithm. Honey, this channel needs more energy, because people need this type of love. We need more of this energy into the world. Okay, so help spread that by sharing and subscribing, liking, commenting. All of it helps to put energy behind it, and we're pushing it forward to others who may not have seen or bumped into this channel yet. All right, it's a safe space. Keep working on your emotional maturity. It will bless you 100-fold in every area of your life. Okay, so never stop investing in yourself. Never give up on yourself. Okay, and until next time, you guys, take care.